Today, I wanted to discuss with you something that came my way via the inspiration of another YouTube user who actually has a show called the OddityArchive. And I'm going to be placing a link to that, as well as another link from one of his videos that's germane to what you're going to be seeing here. Now, I believe it was last year, before I was even exposed to the work of the person who runs the OddityArchive, one Ben Minnotte, about a video he did on his OddityArchive called Record Ripoffs, to which he's done a second part to. And he managed to discuss a series of albums where a group of, as he described it, probably lobotomized studio musicians actually made cover versions of then popular hits and put them onto one album. One of the reasons, as he listed being, is because a lot of people like a bargain and sometimes naively or absent-mindedly buy things that are a bit dubious. And I was at the Goodwill the other day and I found a copy of this album, and in that Record Ripoffs video on the OddityArchive, there was actually an off-air recording, probably one of the earliest ever done, for this particular album from 1971. As you can see on the cover, it says 18 golden hits of 1970, million sellers top of the charts, and it says stereo on the top. There is absolutely no idea of what label this is on, just a generic looking picture of a gold record with a title. And on the back, it's even more generic. Now, I love what this says on the back. Listen, 1970 is certain to make musical history. It was the year that saw a merger of various forms of musical expression. For instance, music that would ordinarily be considered country consistently showed up on the quote-unquote pop charts. Songs like Cracklin' Rosie, Arizona, Rainy Day in Georgia. The same was true of quote-unquote soul and quote-unquote rhythm and blues. And 1970 was a year that produced 3 songs that would become all-time classics. Let It Be by Lennon McCartney of the Beatles, Bridge Over Troubled Waters, Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel, and Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, Bacharach David. Burt Bacharach and Hal David have introduced a new type of music to the world. The rhythms are intricate, the words are sheer poetry. The Bacharach David songs Close to You and the classic Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head are featured in 18 golden hits of 1970. Both were million sellers. Both have been #1 on the pop charts. All of the songs in this album have sold over 1 million records. 11 of the 18 were #1 on the charts. We hope you enjoy this album, and we'll tell your friends about 18 golden hits of 1970. Alright, these are actually pretty profound words, but notice what they leave out. Never in that interestingly phrased paragraph do you actually get any mention that Simon and Garfunkel, or the Beatles, or B.J. Thomas, for that matter, are even the people performing the songs on this album. And as a matter of fact, they're not. As a matter of fact, if you look carefully on this back cover, you won't see listings of any of the artists here. One commercial for a similar type of item that I saw on the OddityArchive actually said, probably infamously, due to low royalties, they couldn't reveal the artists. Sure. Alright. Now look down here. It says to reorder. What does that mean? Reorder. Is that assuming the record's going to break? Send $2.95 for one album, $5.50 for 2 QMO sales in Jericho Turnpike, Mineola, New York. They leave an address here. I would love to trace down more information on this quote-unquote company. Note, certification of million sellers by Record Industry Association of America, pop charts positions by Billboard and Cashbox magazines. Now, the QMO label is completely and utterly generic, just like the front cover. And it's manufactured by Alshire International in Burbank, California. Even without knowing anything else about this record, which I now do, this is definitely on the end of a racket. I cannot believe that anybody, even in the get up, get into it, and get involved 1970s, actually bought this record thinking that it was the original artist. As a matter of fact, I have heard the version of Bridge Over Troubled Waters from this, and not only is it definitely not Art Garfunkel singing it, but there's a lyric in there where he pronounces the end of the chorus as, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will eve your eye. And he makes it drag on and on and on. So there are bad lyrics, bad vocals on these covers of songs that people actually did not know they were getting. So this is a record ripoff if I ever saw one, and considering I paid $1 for this very interesting piece of Americana hucksterism, I wanted to include this as an interesting oddity, and I wanted to dedicate this to Ben Minnotte at the Oddity Archive, and to his wonderful record ripoff series that are absolutely hilarious. You should watch them, and he gives some really interesting history lessons, which played a good deal into this video you're seeing here. So I'll see you next time, and if you see a record like this, don't be afraid of picking it up, even if you know it's not by the original artist. The results could be absolutely hilarious. I'll see you next time.